I wonder how it's like being a left-leaning person, especially if you're a journalist. Do you think like they go to parties and they're like, you know what I found out? It's like, wow, right wingers, they like sexy women. And no, dude, I'm telling you. But why though? Why do they like say? I don't know. I don't know, but it's such an obsession with these people. I bet that's the type of conversations they have at the office. No, seriously, it's like straight men like beautiful women, and this seems to utterly baffle the liberal mind. They just cannot understand this, why that is. What's interesting is that you do not have articles about the obsession that the left has with queerness. I don't know if you noticed, because it has been introduced very subtly, but if you look at American entertainment, whether it's TV show or video games, man, it's filled with naked men and penises. Just naked men and penises, and this didn't used to be the case. Because I remember when growing up, I grew up with American Pie, I grew up with slasher films, other stuff. It usually had titties, and, it had some sex scenes in the shows that, sometimes didn't really fit in. They were there just because. But I didn't get to see penises. But now, this year alone, I think I seen 3. One of them was in House of the Dragon, where you get to see the prince just getting up and he's butt naked and you get to see his dong. Another one was in The Boys, where, again, for no reason whatsoever, it's just there. And I think like the third one was also in The Boys, but in another episode. And then you get to see a lot of naked men. The Acolyte, and the director was like really happy about it. It was like, wow, this is the scene where he comes out of the water and he's half naked and we get to see his pecs. That's really important for the character development. I'm not kidding. That's what the director said, right? So like they're pushing a lot of eye candy for queer people while suppressing everything that has to do with heteronormativity. To the point where, yeah, like, breasts are not allowed to be shown in American entertainment anymore. And it's like, it's fine if you're, like, having this puritanical approach where you're like, okay, we should hide sexuality from the audience. Like, I would get that, but, again, it's filled with LGBT flags and naked men. While anything that's the opposite, anything that would titillate the heteronormative senses is not just suppressed, but it's considered like an act of ultimate evil if a straight man oogles at a beautiful woman, to the point where they're now making articles because people like the way this actress looks like. It's insane. Like, it's mental. When McDonald's releases a commercial showing a happy and wholesome family that's just there having a meal at McDonald's, you get to see leftists on Twitter freak out about that. And they're calling it white supremacy and other such nonsense, to the point where it's trending on Twitter. I don't know if you guys remember, but it happened last year. So, they are absolutely puzzled as to why. Now I kind of understand why they're puzzled. Because all of this started from the academia. Like, academics decided by themselves, without consulting the public, that this is wrong, right? Like, this creates an imbalance between the genders. It sexualizes women. It leads to rape culture because liberal Hollywood perverts are incapable of keeping it in their pants and they're incapable of being law-abiding citizens. Then we need to force society to stop looking at this. And what they're doing instead is they're advertising the opposite, right? So you get to see in American video games coming up right now, they're basically promoting and they're championing character creators that allow you to create characters with cellulitis, characters with skin disease, characters with chest scars. Like this is what they're advocating, and they're pretending like, yes, everyone likes this. Like, this is inclusivity. Meanwhile, you cannot create a character in an American video game that came out after 2022 that looks like this. It's impossible. Like, if you can find the game where you can do it without mods, which is an American game, right? So like, don't go to Asia. Don't tell me about Stellar Blade. No, I want to know an American product where you can go in a character creator and make a character that looks like this. Please let me know. And again, it has to be without mods. Like, mods don't count. And this is all coming from the academia, right? Like, the university professors, all of them are left-leaning. Some of them are even Marxists. They're saying that this is the way forward. And from the academia, it goes to the activists that work as consultants at various companies, and they're pushing this, right? So despite the fact that they're pushing for this, despite the fact that you see a lot of TV shows, you see actresses that are over the age of 40, you see actresses that do not use makeup, they're incredibly toned down and desexualized. Despite all this, men still enjoy this. And this baffles the left. It's like, but we spent so many resources into trying to convince people, into trying to get them to stop thinking that this is beautiful. And it's not working. So I think like this is where the puzzle is coming from. This is what they don't understand, that despite all of their monumental, their Herculean efforts, people still like this. And they're considering it to be right-wing, despite the fact that the actress herself doesn't consider herself to be involved in politics, right? And she comes in and says, please everyone make jokes about my boobs. And again, like this mindfucks the leftists that are grown on feminism, which is pretty much that, you know, women cannot flirt, women aren't sexual creatures, they do not make jokes like this in real life, they just don't understand what's going on. And they're saying that her appearance was lauded by a number of right-wing commentators who are saying death of the woke. Which, again, you associate woke with ugliness. You know, you associate woke with obesity, with people that have their hair half-shaven, with individuals that glorify women over the age of 45, you know, like cougars and stuff. Like, this is what wokeness has branded itself as. Like, this is what usually they create. I keep saying this because it's just like got etched into my brain when I was seeing my wife watching Wheel of Time, and she comes up to me and asks, it's like, what I don't get is like, why are all these women mid-looking, but all the men that they're with are absolutely stunning. And you look at the show and it's true, like all the men from Wheel of Time, I think Amazon released it, all the men were like 10 out of 10 husbandos, and the women were middle-aged, they didn't wear any makeup, their entire costumes and attire was there to make it as unappealing for the male gaze as humanly possible, and it broke the immersion for my wife, which was like, well, why would these men hang around these women? Like, they can have any woman they want, and their personality wasn't there to justify the matchup, right? It's the same thing with He-Man in the Netflix adaptation. Like, He-Man is still like buff, 10 out of 10, and he's going around with Teela, which looks like a dude. And it doesn't justify it. It's like, he's He-Man, he's the Prince of Eternia, he can be with literally any woman from that universe. Why is he going out with this chick, which is mid? And this is because the university professors are trying to basically reshape the concept of beauty. Like, they're believing that the reason people find this attractive is not because it's a natural thing. It's not because, like, you're just looking at the picture and you're finding it attractive and, you know, it's just like you're hardwired to find it attractive. No, they believe that you find it attractive because you constantly see it. You see it in comic books, you see it in movies, you see it in TV shows, you see it in commercials. So basically, like, society tells you that this is attractive. So if they were to do the opposite, if they were to promote plump women with cellulitis, with skin disease, with chest scars, with all of that, then people would just immediately just start liking something different. Well, obviously, in reality, attraction is something that people have no control of. I cannot find this lady unattractive. Like, no matter how much I try, no matter what ideology, I can claim that she's not attractive if you force me to. Like, if you're going to put a gun to my head and say, like, hey, V, I want you to say this lady's not attractive, like, I can make that claim, that's fine, but, like, I will not believe it. And it's the same thing in reverse. Like, if you ask me to find this gentleman from this commercial attractive, I can't. Like, there is absolutely nothing that I can do in order to find him attractive. So this is, like, why the left is upset. It's because what they've been trying and what their entire efforts for the last 5 years seems to not be working. And they even go around and they explain it here. See, there you go. You get Professor Victoria Khan at the University of East Anglia in the UK says that women have been positioned through the lens of masculinity imagery in a conservative populist politics for a very long time. You need to update your arguments, lady, because for the last 5 or 6 years, it's literally not have been the case. Like, there has been a push, like you guys from the academia were successful into actually reversing the trend. So you can't use the argument, like, if you make change in society, which has been going on for like a significant amount of time, you need to start admitting that, okay, well, for the last, like, we used to have this, but like for the last 5 years we didn't. And then you can make another conclusion, but this is ridiculous, right? Like, I haven't seen women like this in commercial or TV shows or movies for a very long time. Save for the Orville and a couple of other exceptions. But yeah, like, you just don't see actresses like this in TV shows. And it's on purpose, by the way. It's on design. And they're saying that Sweetie appears to have kicked up the latest wave of conservative hot girls at a time where conventionally beauty standards have been adopted as a antidote to wokeness. Yeah, but like, again, if wokeness brands itself as the ideology that supports ugliness, you're not going to force people to accept ugliness as beautiful. They still find it ugly. Usually, like, people consume these products because there's nothing else, and they consume the product despite of the casting choice. Like, you can cast a mid-looking female character in a show, and people will watch the show despite that, but they're not going to enjoy your casting. And here you have it saying, the focus on hot girls is a way for the right in the US to fight back against perceptions of wokeness. Holding up women in a sexualized fashion could be a tactic to reinforce gender stereotypes around women's appearance. I guarantee to you, women like looking like this. How do I know? Because the fashion industry exists and this is what women buy. Like, when women left alone, they buy stuff like this. It's usually through ideological enforcement that you get women to not look like this. For instance, you go in the Middle East and you have like Sharia and they're forced women to cover up and stuff. But if left to their own devices, they like looking like this. I'm actually curious. If you go to academia to a 55-year-old something hag and you ask her, all right, after you die, you get to be reborn. And you show her like two pictures. You show her a morbidly obese, plump lady with cellulitis and vitiligo. And this picture. And you're like, all right, so again, this is the deal. After you die, you get to be reborn and you get to choose which one of these two people do you want to be reborn as. I'll let you guys figure out the answer to that hypothetical. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.